Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. Late last month, retired Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman jumped into the Florida Senate race against Republican Ashley Moody, and it immediately reset a contest that many had written off as being an easy win for Republicans. Here was part of his announcement.
The last time you saw me was here, swearing an oath to tell the truth about a president who broke his. See, my family came to America as refugees to escape tyranny, and I sure as hell was not going to bow down to some wannabe tyrant. This president unleashed a reign of terror and retribution, not just against me and my family, but against all of us. Today, our country is in chaos. Thug militias attacking citizens, tariffs pushing prices sky high, healthcare premiums through the roof. And Florida homeowners are being absolutely screwed because Ashley Moody caved to the big insurance companies. They put Moody in the Senate to be a yes vote for Trump and the billionaires. She's not Florida Senator. She's theirs. I'm Alex Vindman, and I'm running to be your voice in the Senate.
Now, in the 24 hours after he got into the race, Vindman raised $1.7 million, an impressive haul that made folks take notice. The next day, Jennifer Jenkins, who had been the leading candidate for the Democratic nomination, dropped out of the race and endorsed Vindman. And some experts moved the race from safely Republican to likely Republican. But make no mistake, Florida is still very much a red state. There are nearly 1.5 million more registered Republican voters than Democratic ones, and Moody has the support of Donald Trump. So does Vindman have the realistic chance of winning? And perhaps more importantly, why is he running? Well, why don't we ask him? Joining us here in the studio for his first Florida interview since entering the race is retired Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
We spoke back in May. And, at the time, we were hearing rumblings that you were thinking about it. And one of the things that we talked about is whether or not you would think about getting in this race. And you said, I think Democrats need to win in some very difficult places in order to wrestle back control. I'm not sure if Florida is the place to do that. It might be. And then you went on to tell me, I don't think the state is too far gone by any means. I certainly don't believe that. I just don't know if I'm the right person to do that or if that's the right role for me. So why did you decide that you are the right person to do that?
When we spoke back then, I don't think I was seriously considering a run for U.S. Senate. My career and my life has been one of public service, so it's always been a question I ask myself, where can I best serve? And at the time, I thought I was doing a lot of things with regards to national security and defense, but that doesn't seem to match the moment today. I feel that this state and this country is headed in the wrong direction. I feel like there's a crisis. We're in the middle of a crisis in which people don't feel safe in their homes. They don't feel safe in their communities. Life in Florida is increasingly unaffordable. I live here with my wife and daughter. I moved my parents down here about 6 months after I arrived. My dad's 93, my mom is 78. I'm paying half his rent. So I think life in Florida is out of reach. But it's really a combination of the chaos, the corruption, the unprecedented corruption, where the burden is shifting in this fixed system from working Floridians, burdens being placed on them while mega corporations are profiting. And for me, in my life of service, I couldn't sit on the sidelines. I had to come back in and see if I could properly represent the 23 million Floridians and see if we could put a fighter on the side of Floridians here. Was
there a moment, though? I mean, there has been, from the Democratic perspective, many outrages since Donald Trump returned to office 12 months ago. Yeah. So when we talked in May, you had predicted some things that have come true in terms of him using, military into cities, those sorts of things. But was there some pivotal moment? Was it Minneapolis? Was it what happened, with ICE? Was there something that really made you decide, I can't sit on the sidelines, I have to get in?
I'm a military strategist. I look at things, my heart was in for service, but my head was looking at about where can I best serve, and watching things unfold, whether it's the November elections that told the tale of an electorate increasingly disgusted with the direction this country is taking, and I think that's completely replicated within Florida. Whether that's what's going on in Minneapolis, I think what look like paramilitaries, but acting like thugs, not trying to secure the community, but ramping up and escalating, not being properly trained to do that role. They have a limited role to protect the population. Those folks are getting the signals from the very top in a corrupt scheme to put pressure on communities. That's not something that sits well with me. It's these different factors that all came together, and my recognition that Florida is ready for a different direction. We are not. I know that the numbers on the surface, 1.5 million Republicans, tell one story, but that's not what I'm seeing from the community. What I'm seeing from the community is that they want somebody that will be their fighter, somebody that will be a fighter in Floridians' corner, not serving the special interests like Ashley Moody has been doing since being appointed to be a yes vote for their entire agenda.
Well, we'll talk more about that, but I want to sort of clarify certain things because the RNC came out very strongly against you after you made your announcement. One RNC spokesman referred to you as a carpetbagger and a grifter. Yeah. So let's go through a couple of things, and I want you to sort of be clear about when did you move to Florida?
So after 21 and a half years in the military telling me exactly where to live, all different corners of the world, Florida was the first place I got a chance to choose where to live. I got a chance to plant my family here and try to get us on the course to blossom. We moved here in February 2023, so 3 years ago this month. 6 months later, I moved my dad, 93, and my mom, 78. Same reason that many pensioners move here. So our story is not that different than the vast majority of Floridians that are moving from different corners here for the purposes of planting a seed in an environment of sun, happiness, and affordability. And that's not really where we're headed right now. We're headed in a direction where it's increasingly out of reach.
Well, let me just clear up a couple of things. Are you registered to vote in Florida?
Yes, I am.
Have you voted in Florida?
I have.
Which elections have you voted in?
I voted in every election since I've gotten here.
So since 23. So you voted in 24, the governor's race, or not the governor's race, but the various races in 24 and on forward.
So
okay,
I think it's, frankly, this is a good point. I think sometimes folks really focus in on either the national elections every 4 years or midterm elections. I take it out as my responsibility as a U.S. citizen to participate in every election, and if I'm able to do that, I vote in every election as is my responsibility as a citizen.
All right. So you've been in Florida for 3 years. What makes you believe, though, that you're best suited only in the state for 3 years? There are parts of this state that are completely foreign to you, I would imagine. I mean, I'm sure that during this campaign you will visit throughout the entire state, but there are parts of the state that you may not know very well. Why do you think you're better suited to represent the state of Florida than Ashley Moody, who grew up here?
Well, I think Floridians expect somebody that will be in their corner, that will be a fighter for them, and not just beholden to special interests, not an automatic yes vote for a party that she is representing. I think Floridians are looking for somebody that's been a career public servant, like I have, served in postings overseas, served in combat, received a Purple Heart. I don't think they're looking for a career politician. They're looking for somebody that will do what I have pledged to do, which is end the chaos, crush corruption, and cut costs. I think that factor is much more important than any other factor. I think my biography probably speaks more to who I am, what I've delivered for this country, and what I'll deliver for the state. That's paramount.
So let's talk a little bit about your backstory. You were born in Kyiv when Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union. Your father fled with you and your twin brother Eugene when you were both 4. You were part of the Soviet wave of Soviet Jews that sort of left and settled in the United States. I believe you grew up in Brooklyn. Joined the military, was awarded a Purple Heart when an IED blew up your convoy in Iraq, and you were serving on the National Security Council during President Trump's first term when that fateful phone call happened in 2019, in which you were monitoring the call for the NSC because of your role with the Security Council, and you overheard Donald Trump appearing to threaten Vladimir Zelensky and asking for an investigation of Joe Biden and possibly withholding military aid as a result. You reported that. That led to Trump's first impeachment. That story that you've lived, that you wrote about in, Here Right Matters. This was your first book that you came out. how does that experience and what happened to you, because you got fired by Donald Trump eventually, you faced retribution from Donald Trump. How much does that experience play into your decision making to run for Senate?
I think that whole biography speaks to one fact: somebody that's committed to service, somebody that's committed to America's defense, somebody that's committed to making sure that we have the strongest team possible in a very, very dangerous world. And I think that that biography also specifically talks to somebody that's willing to speak truth to power. It doesn't make a difference of which party, Democrat or Republican. I've been critical of both. I call things the way I see it, balls and strikes, simply. If I see something wrong, I'm going to speak up. So I think that that particular component is what I think Floridians are looking for. I think there are segments of this population that feel deeply under siege just looking around what's happening in their communities. Somebody that's going to be a fighter in their corner. Somebody that's going to deal with a system that's increasingly leaning against ordinary families, against working people, and for the ultra wealthy. Somebody that will make sure that they represent the interests of the Floridian people and not the elites, corporations, or the ultra wealthy, which is exactly what Ashley Moody has been doing for her tenure as an appointed senator.
You have been critical of Ashley Moody, as you just were there, and you raised, for instance, the issue of stock transactions. That was in your announcement video. Do you have any evidence that she used any insider information to financially benefit herself?
What's absolutely clear is, if you look at her her financial disclosures, is that she executed more than $1 million in corporate stock trades while having access to insider information that only Congress gets. That should be, that's wrong. That should be illegal. One of the things I intend to do as a senator is to make sure that the system is not rigged for the powerful and ultra wealthy, and I will vote to pass legislation to ban stock trading for elected officials.
Well, it's actually a bill that Ashley Moody is currently sponsoring. Ashley Moody, along with Kristen Gillibrand, the Democrat from New York, currently has legislation that would ban stock trading by members of Congress and their family. Again, so I go back to the question: if Ashley Moody is acknowledging that this is something that needs to change, do you have any proof that she's done anything improper, though, with that insider information that you sort of claim?
It's absolutely clear to me that she is now conscious of the fact that there is a viable opponent, and she's behaving. Her political spidey senses have kicked in, and she's now signing on to things that she was earlier rejecting. I know that she wasn't in favor of this ban previously, and that she signed on to it just recently because she has a competitor that is against it. I think the bottom line is, just look at what she's done. She's been an automatic yes vote for the entire extremist Republican agenda. She did that not just in the Senate, but she did that as when she was acting as an attorney general. She wasn't serving the interests of Floridians. She was serving the interests of the powerful political elites. And I think Floridians are looking for somebody different. They're looking for somebody that's not a career politician. This is my first time running. But if you set that aside and you look at my record, 21 and a half years serving in the military, serving the American people, pledging to defend this country against enemies, foreign and domestic, my record speaks for itself. Ashley Moody's record is fundamentally flawed, and we're going to test that in this election. My fight is to prove to Floridians, the 23 million of us, that I will be your representative. I will be in your corner, and it's time for a change.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break here. We'll come back. I want to talk about some of the issues. I want to talk about Venezuela. I want to talk about temporary protected status for Haitians and other things along that line, as well as where this country is going, in your opinion.